There's an active serial killing group in Austin, Texas. I've been seeing videos all over my For You page talking about the Smile murders, and I'm gonna be honest, this is absolutely terrifying. From what I understand, the Smile murders are either a group of people or a singular person leaving this tagline after unaliving someone. This just looks like a normal takeout bag near the lake sitting on a tree, while what was found underneath it is absolutely terrifying. It is, yes, an unalived person near the lakeside. Now, the two craziest parts to me is the target is younger men. The second part is that there's been 12 bodies found since 2022 at Lady Bird Lake, and alone this year there's been already 3. You're probably thinking to yourself, Chris, well, can you go swimming in Lady Bird Lake? Are they drowning? Because that's been the cause of death of most of these people. No, you can't. There's poisonous algae in there, meaning that if you go swimming in there, you're probably cooked. Now, if you don't believe me, this is the timeline in the area that people are found. On top of that, it seems like people are mostly coming from Rainer Street, which from what I've heard and what I understand is the hotspot in Austin, where they have all the bars and it's just like a massive strip. This has been a conspiracy for a long time that there's a group of people unaliving others, but not only in Austin. There's been things in Manchester, there's been things in Boston. A lot of people are thinking that it's just an organized group, unaliving people and leaving this smiley tagline. Well, and all this is just absolutely terrifying. If you're in the area, stay safe.
Tell me about something that will forever blow your mind. Andrew Dawson. Andrew's story will forever leave me with huge questions.
During the Las Vegas shooting, Stephen Paddock's...
Tell me about something that will forever blow your mind. Andrew Dawson. Andrew's story will forever leave me with huge questions. He was posting normal, goofy, everyday content.
I don't think you can park there!
It seemed like he had such a big sense of humor, and then everything changed when he posted this video that literally changed his life. He was just driving down the road one day and he thought he saw a giant on top of this mountain. So he pulls out his phone to record it and he's zooming in and you can see what appears to be a really large person or a giant. The original viewers of the video said that he was too shaky. They couldn't tell what was going on. A lot of people weren't believing him.
Why do you say I have Parkinson's? Blah, blah, blah.
He really believed that he saw a giant, so he was kind of freaking out and he wanted to investigate. And of course the TikTok community was like hyping him up and encouraging him to search for more answers. He posted several videos explaining why the quality was so low, like he was zooming in so far. It's hard to be zoomed in while recording so far away. He's joking around with people telling them to just rent him a helicopter, buy him a helicopter so he can actually get good footage and see if the giant is still there. He also mentions that he tried to get back up to the side of the mountain, but there was like a CIA agent there and they were doing some sort of environmental project and that he was trespassing, so he needed to leave. He thought that was kind of weird, so he decided to wake up really early in the morning and go back in hopes that nobody would be there and he'd be able to make it up the side of that mountain. Things are already kind of weird, but it gets even weirder. He's driving back towards that same mountain again and he says he sees something in the sky. And now Andrew was thinking that he's seeing a UFO in the sky. Like, what is this light? He later sees 2 helicopters flying in the sky and they're extracting something. You can literally see that this helicopter is taking something really large. Like they took that down from the side of the mountain. He tries to go up the mountain again and that's when he runs into this car. You could hear the tone in his voice when he's asking the person if he can go up and they're telling him no. He sounds like he knows he messed up, like he shouldn't have gone up the side of that mountain, but he's so curious and he's like fully invested at this point. In his next upload, he's showing that there's a car outside of his house and it looks to be the exact same car that he saw on the side of the mountain. He runs outside yelling, he's trying to figure out what's going on, and the car just drives off. Next, he uploads a video where he seems so out of character. His hands are tucked in his pockets, he's nervous, his eyes are shifting, and he's just not being himself. It doesn't fit his previous videos. Also, the lighting and how he's backed up against the wall, it seems almost forced. And then he posts this video.
You might not see me post ever again.
He also says that his videos are not fake. He uploads another video showing that same mountain, but now there's some sort of like fort or building on top of it. And the building just appeared like out of nowhere overnight. And that's it. There's no more uploads on his account. I think everybody is thinking the same thing, right? Like we're all thinking that he saw something he shouldn't have seen. He talked about it and now he's gone. And that's when his wife creates a post from her own TikTok account where she's saying RIP Andrew, and she's tagging him and she says, I miss you and I love you. People thought that he was faking everything, like beginning to start. And then somebody was able to find his obituary. His wife continuously was being harassed and she ended up saying that it's not what you're thinking, that he just passed from natural causes and everybody just needs to leave it alone. And then she would upload other things that seemed like it kind of contradicted that. Like somebody had mentioned to her, wear purple in your next video if you're in danger. And her next video, she was wearing purple. If you do fall down the Andrew Dawson rabbit hole, please be respectful. Do not go and spam his wife. Let her live her life. I don't think we'll ever get answers about Andrew Dawson. I think that we'll always remain curious and mind blown.
Advanced cloning. Some rap conspiracy theorists are suggesting that Kanye West has been replaced by a clone. Pointing to his recent controversial behavior as evidence, they claim that the old Kanye is dead and that an imposter is now impersonating him. These theorists highlight Kanye's dissing of Jay-Z and Beyoncé, his support for Donald Trump, the cancellation of his tour, his mental breakdown, and even his change in appearance as suspicious. While cloning technology exists, the idea of Kanye being replaced by a clone is highly unlikely and lacks substantial evidence. These conspiracy theories can be seen as far-fetched and not grounded in reality.
I mean, in reality, these conspiracies are just too much sometimes.
You know that if the moon disappeared for just 12.6 seconds, the world as we know it would be doomed. The Earth would rotate 3 times as fast, and each day would be 8 hours long. Winds would also be strong enough to blow the roofs off the top of houses. Birds and insects will implode due to atmospheric pressure. Eventually, ocean tides will lead to the flooding of almost every city in the planet, and this will cause the extinction of all humans. And even if the flooding doesn't do it, eventually the Earth would burn up from its core, killing everyone.
We cannot sensibly accept that the Sphinx is just 4,500 years old. The ancient Egyptians were there, but I believe they found the Sphinx already created and already heavily eroded, and that they then recarved its head into the head of a pharaoh. And that head is way too small in relation to the body. That makes sense if it was a heavily eroded lion head, which was then later cut down into the head of a pharaoh. The geology speaks to the original Sphinx being more than 12,000 years old. You see it there.
Right.
Those deep vertical fissures are classic weathering produced by rainfall pouring over the edge of that. The data says the Sphinx is 12,000 plus years old. There should be a huge question mark over the Sphinx.
I can't believe Prince said this.
You know, when I was a kid, I used to see these trails in the sky all the time, and so, oh, that's cool. A jet just went over. And then you started to see a whole bunch of them. And next thing you know, everybody in your neighborhood was fighting and arguing, and you didn't know why.
Some of you wake up and see all these trails in the sky, but you don't live by one airport. They say it's just condensation from the plane, or that they're using these big tanks and airplanes to test weight limits. But what do you think? Is it just condensation coming out the plane, or was Prince actually onto something?
Anunnaki might be an ancient race of humans. It's true. Our current understanding of the Anunnaki supposedly comes from ancient Sumerian texts. The story of the Anunnaki explains how over 400,000 years ago, creator gods came to Earth to search for resources for their home planet Nibiru. However, the Anunnaki then stayed on Earth and created and taught some ancient humans everything they knew. But could this actually be true? The Mayans actually had evidence that the Anunnaki existed in their writings and texts. It is even stated that the Anunnaki assisted the Mayans with all of their intricate temples and cities. This is because the Anunnaki used the Mayan temples as a messenger to communicate with these ancient civilizations, which could explain how the Mayans built such complex structures with ease. What do you think?
Does it also mean that Anunnaki created the pyramids as well?
These are some conspiracies that I fully believe despite having absolutely no evidence. Twins are not real. They are simply one person moving back and forth very quickly. Tigers are just lions in drag. New York City rats have evolved to the point where they can fully understand English and Puerto Rican Spanish. Every 5 years, the entire population of Australia and New Zealand swap places with each other. Everyone who works in Rite Aid is a Fed. And finally, the Lucky Charms leprechaun is a bisexual.
I mean, these are one of the ridiculous conspiracies I've ever heard. It doesn't even make sense.
Right.
I always go back to the ancient Egyptian traditions that speak of priests chanting as these huge blocks were lifted into the air? Were they using some kind of sound effect, some kind of use of sound that was able to manipulate matter? We know that sound can manipulate matter, as a matter of fact, but they're lifting these blocks. Again and again, it appears in ancient Egyptian traditions. The notion that we could lift huge blocks with sound seems absurd to archaeologists, and yet it's there in the traditions of the Egyptologists.
And here's the basic idea, as I think I understand it at this point. Resonance frequencies, everything vibrates. If we had an electric razor, we plugged it in, turned it on, set it on this table, bzz, it's going to move around, isn't it? You ever seen that?
Yeah.
That's the beginning of the concept, because it's vibrating. Everything vibrates at a frequency, and if you know that frequency, you can control things.
And so through this technology, they're able to move stones or cut stones or all the above?
All the above.
And even transport them?
I mean, that is true. Vibration do play a role, but for lifting those tons of stones, that would require some huge vibrations. And I think which is not possible.
Do you know about this? There's a theory that the pyramids weren't actually built for housing the tombs of pharaohs, but for time travel. Before the pyramids eroded, they were topped off with quartz tips. These tips were at the center of the pyramids. But listen to this. The coordinates of the center of the pyramid match the exact same number as the speed of light. It is a theory that this enabled the people inside to time travel, as to time travel you must reach the speed of light. To travel, the sun had to reflect off the tip back into the pyramid at a certain angle, eventually propelling the user into the past.
Inside the mysterious world of the Rothschild family, people have accused the Rothschilds of being behind secretive groups and having control over the media and money around the globe. Who are the Rothschilds? They are a family who started with a man named Mayer Amschel Rothschild. He was a famous banker a very long time ago in the 18th century. He became very rich fast and had 5 sons who started huge banks in 5 important European countries. But even though some people think there is a big secret plan, there is no proof that it actually exists. The Rothschild Group is a big bank that invests all around the world. But because the family has so many relatives, each person gets less money than some people think they have.
They are one of the powerful and the most wealthiest families in the world.
This is the Queen of the Illuminati, Beyoncé. She said that whenever she performs on stage, someone named Sasha Fierce comes into her body and takes over. She literally explains all of this herself on YouTube, but check this out. She literally says she has out-of-body experiences. If I cut my leg, I don't fall, I don't feel it. I am so fearless and I'm not aware of my face or body.
I raised my hands up, and it was kind of the first time I felt something else come into me.
Her ex-drummer filed a restraining order against her and accused her of killing her cat to use it for witchcraft. Look at the necklace of this picture of Sasha Fierce. This is literally the symbol of the Temple of Satan.
I mean, that is what happens when you sign the contract.
You know who Ari Shafir is?
No, I swear I've heard of him though. Who is he?
So listen to this. Ari Shafir was a comedian, right?
Oh.
Now he did a live stream on his podcast where he took a huge dose of salvia. You know what salvia is?
Nah.
It's like a drug similar to marijuana, but this drug is like different. It's very potent. It's very strong. It's a very different trip.
Podcast?
He took it on the podcast live stream. He passed out for 2 hours. In those 2 hours, they were looking at him, and he was just like out. He was just out, right? Jeez. Now, when he woke up, he was so distraught. He was like, whoa, what is this? What's going on? Now, he said in those 2 hours where he was passed out, he said he was living in a different world with a job, a family, friends, a community for 6 months. And then when he woke up, it felt like he's been in 6 months, but it was in reality just 2 hours.
Now, during the Las Vegas shooting, Stephen Paddock supposedly expended over 3,000 rounds of ammunition over the course of 10 minutes from 27 AR-15s with bump stocks, despite the fact that it would have required him to drop a gun after each 30-round magazine was empty, even though videos from survivors show that it was a non-stop stream of ammunition with a firing rate much higher than a bump stock is capable of producing from multiple locations that appear to be M240 LMGs. More interesting is the fact that after the FBI took over the investigation, his house somehow burned down, with all the evidence and photos of the hotel room he shot from only showing 50 spent shells. Years later, we still have no motivation, and there was strangely no follow-up on the biggest mass shooting in U.S. history. Most confusing is the day after his brother had numerous press conference interviews where he claimed it made no sense, he was arrested for possessing several hundred terabytes of CP on a 20-year-old computer running Windows 95, at least according to the photos taken by the FBI.
Indeed, that was one of the biggest shootings in US history ever.
The Simpsons saw it coming.
Oh, which way did Mason go? That must be him over there.
The search in the Atlantic Ocean in the same area that the Titanic sunk 111 years ago. In that disaster, more than 1,500 people were killed. Today, the Coast Guard launched a rescue mission 13,000 feet below the surface for a submarine carrying 5 people. It went missing during an expedition to the Titanic.
A submarine carrying tourists to see the wreckage of the Titanic has gone missing. The clock is ticking if there is any hope of finding the Titanic submersible.
This particular submersible is advertised to have 96 hours of survival time.
Stockton Rush, I'm the CEO and founder of OceanGate. Let's take a look at Titan.
This video was taken just moments before
A completely new approach to the sub design, and it's all run with this game controller and these touch screens. So if you want to go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back. Turn left, turn right, go down, go up. And it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody. And it's meant for a 16-year-old to throw it around, and super durable. We keep a couple of spares on board.
Simpsons back at it again, predicting the Ocean Gate as well.
She's walking by a store in Paris, and she sees this.
Okay, people, tell me something. So this is a store in Paris, and this is a mannequin that they say they made this shit and put this in the store. This boy look like somebody dead and bomb. Look at his hand. His hands is as real as mine. This is friggin' serious, I swear. If anybody have this guy missing,
After posting the video, comments began to flood in. Others did a reverse image search on the mannequin, and what they found was truly disturbing. One search brought up a missing man by the name of Isaiah Bass. Isaiah was actually a fashion designer and had affiliations with the very brand that had this mannequin on display, and that brand's name is Balenciaga. Isaiah had been voicing concerns over the brand's unauthorized use of his clothing designs. In response, Balenciaga reached out via email and invited Isaiah to the Paris location to discuss the matter further. Since his departure from this meeting, nobody ever heard from or saw Isaiah again.
if anybody have this guy missing, please. This is crazy. I've never seen anybody look so friggin' real. How you have this man in the store sit down? Look at that shit. You see? This is friggin' crazy. Look in the guy eye. And them said they made this mannequin and put clothes on him and have him sit down in the window. Look at the guy friggin' face. I swear to God. No, guys, he's in Paris. If you know anyone that missing a black son look like this, he's in Paris in the store in the window.
Oh, hi, Marley. Thanks so much for this comment. Really insightful. And in fact, I'm seeing a lot of these insightful comments today, both on TikTok and over on Elon's Ego site. And it's great that you've commented on one of my videos, because that means I can address it, properly. So I've got a few questions around it. Are you intellectually challenged? Is that the reason why you're unable to understand that a government that was put into office 2 weeks ago couldn't possibly be the cause of these issues? Are you unable to even contemplate for a moment that the last government kind of potentially even called an early election because they knew all of this trouble was brewing? And with regards to, supporting Ukraine, Is it that you're okay with a sovereign country being invaded? Is that okay with you? Or do you believe the ridiculous narrative around the Ukrainians are the Nazis and we're fighting them? In which case, if you're a conspiracy theorist, which of course that narrative plays into, then of course none of this makes sense to you anyway, and you're so far down the rabbit hole, you're digging your carrots away. So I don't know which of the things applies to you, but I'd be fascinated to find out, because I am seeing it a lot, and it just makes me thankful that Bridget Phillipson is in place for the Education Secretary, because clearly our education system is lacking, and also clearly our papers need to be held to account, because the amount of misinformation that must be going out there for people like you to say stupid things like this is extraordinary. Anyway, as you were.
They will put you on a record label, you know.
And so what do the sacrifices be like?
I wouldn't know, but
I thought that would be in the 14. I would have read every 14 page of that letter.
No, once you realize there's no need, because guess what happens? Somewhere in the middle of that letter, at the bottom, at the top, at the foot page, it's going to have some type of spirituality in it.
Right.
That reads, and you'll be reading it, as people do now, don't even recognize. You're reading stuff and you don't even realize what you're reading, and you're reading spells on yourself. I don't read shit unless it's about that cash.
Period.
Well, Tekashi fired his whole management team right before this happened.
You signed a blood contract. You don't fire people. We fire you.
Because he's a blood.
Yes.
And that's the type of contract he signed.
Mexican blood.
That's happening. See, we live in a world where people are doing all type of wild things like drinking blood. You know, you familiar with that? You're familiar with the adrenochrome market?
I've heard of it. I've never actually partaken myself.
Yeah, I sell blood, Vlad.
On the side?
Remember I told you about my brother sell organs. I sell blood.
Just straight blood.
It's baby blood.
Baby blood.
Baby blood. You know, you most definitely want to scare the child, shake him up a little bit. You feel me? Split the necks, let the blood drip out. Adrenochrome be at a high potency. You drink it, you feel youthful.
Okay.
You ever wonder why the Queen of England's still alive? She like 600. Baby blood, right? Baby blood.
She's
yeah.
Right.
Baby blood, Vlad. You should try some. You ever tried adrenochrome?
No.
Hit me up, Vlad. I'll get you a gallon.
A gallon?
See, most of these black people, they are drinking lean and cough syrup and shit. We drink adrenochrome.
Okay.
Get your gallon of adrenochrome, Vlad, you be 17 all over again. What you think Derrick Rose just drunk? You think he had bad knee? You think he just gonna score 50 out of nowhere? Yo, Derrick, get some of this adrenochrome. Fuck that Gatorade. Get some of this adrenochrome.
So Derrick Rose drank baby blood right before his game.
Oh, most definitely.
And that's how he got his.
Most definitely, without a doubt.
Okay.
Westbrook did it too. Remember, he had all that energy that one year. Baby blood.
Baby blood.